So I took the previous grid system, right? I'm going to turn this off image editor because it's really slow. I don't know what's wrong with that. But, so I took the X of the grid, the X position, and took the sine of it and added it to Y. And I did the same thing for X, and it makes it so we don't have like a grid, but we have a wavy grid. And this makes it look much more organic. Let me open the geometry node editor here. That's right here. So multiply it by 0.5. So basically, this is 1/2 the wavelength of this. And we could even layer a couple of them like this. So we do sine, multiply, 0.1. And then add. So we're doing sine of y, so we'll have to add to x. There we go. So now we have two phases of wave on one of the axes. I think it's this one. And we can do the same thing for the other one. So multiply by, we'll say 0.05 sine, and then we grab x instead of y this time. And then we add to y since we grabbed x. There we go. So now we have a couple of phases of wave distortion. So it kind of looks like the ground got piled up the way that nature really does. Nothing's nice straight lines in nature. And then another thing that helps break it up, you can take the faces that are extruded, right? And I capture an attribute right before the faces that are extruded right here. And then I pass it from point to face to point to face to point to face to point to face, and that makes it a nice smooth gradient. And then we can add a little bit of noise texture to it and use greater than to make a nice smooth transition. I mean a nice jagged, noisy transition like nature has for texturing. So we pass this value all the way out of the shader, all the way out of the geonodes. And then inside of the shader graph, we just grab that attribute right here, and then I'm adding noise to it, and then doing greater than a value. Oops, this is supposed to be greater than. And so that controls where the threshold is. Alright, and then we can also use dot of normal and up. That's what this is. So this value is coming from that, the bright areas. We can change where that is by changing the multiplier. So we're doing times pi right now. We could do pi times 2. Pi times 4. Pi. And then you can also do add. So you can control where these lines end up at. That's pretty handy. Like that looks like snow right now. So you could do procedural texturing, and you could do procedural terrain texturing, and procedural generation, and all that stuff in Blender. It's really fun.